Hello, Chargers fans, and welcome to another episode of ChargersCast. I'm your host, Kirk Brewer, and ChargersCast is a podcast about everything about our beloved Los Angeles Chargers, by fans, for fans. So let's get into it. We've got a lot to talk about. This week, we're going to be talking about the second preseason game, technically, for the Chargers, the third preseason game, because they played in the Hall of Fame game this year against the Lions. And so we're going to talk about last week's game against the Rams. And then we're going to talk about this upcoming final preseason game this Saturday up in San Francisco at Levi Stadium against the 49'ers. And talk a little bit about the roster as well. There's not a whole lot to talk about there. So let's go ahead and kick it off with that. But first, tradition here on ChargersCast is to maintain an ice cold beverage to keep the vocal cords lubricated while we're doing the podcast. And this week, I've got a beautiful Carlsberg Danish Pilsner, probably one of my favorite beers. And crack this baby open and we'll get the podcast started. Cheers and salute. All right, let's get into it. There's not a lot to talk about from a roster perspective. No real roster moves this week after the Rams game. So we can move on to the current roster. A couple items of note there. Number one, Mekhi Becton is back practicing. And at this point in time, I think we can expect him to be active and on the field for week one in Brazil, which is on September 5th, so a couple weeks away. Also, Quentin Johnston, he suffered a concussion on literally like the first play of the game against the Rams. We'll talk a little bit about that play. I think it was a little questionable personally. But he suffered a concussion. Looked like it could have been worse. And he's currently going through the concussion protocol. So hopefully Q gets better soon. I don't think it's a big deal relative to this coming game against the Niners. As far as him getting any playing time in that game. So he's going to have several weeks before week one to be fully recovered. Also, Taylor Heineke got knocked out of this game late in the second quarter, and Trey came in and finished out the game. I think the plan had been that Taylor would finish out the first half and then Trey would come in the second half, but he got knocked out on, again, what I would call somewhat of a questionable play that knocked him out. And so I believe he's going through a concussion protocol as well, which could have some roster implications and some bearing on this Saturday's game, this last preseason game against the Niners. So we'll want to keep an eye out for that and see if he's going to be able to play and continue to battle for that QB2 spot, or if he's going to be sidelined and it's going to be Trey Lance and our fourth string guy. Gosh, don't try and ask me to pronounce his name. I always butcher his name, but I like the kid. He's a big kid. So that's it roster-wise. A couple positions to just continue to keep our eyes on, but it's great to have Mekhi back and practicing. Also, side note, Najee Harris is still practicing off to the side. He is not actually getting any practice reps on 7-7 or 11-on-11. And so we'll continue to monitor that, but there is speculation that he may start the season week one on the non-football injury list. So he may not even be active for week one, which would put Omarion Hampton, our rookie first-round pick, as RB1 come week one. And so that also makes watching this running back room in this battle for the RB 2, 3, 4, those battles a little more important as we head into week one. So keep your eyes on that. We'll talk a little bit more about that as well. So the Rams game, big picture. Our starters started the game, both sides of the ball. on offense. Herbert and the starters played one series. It's pretty clean. And not just with our starters, but in general. Again, it was a pretty clean game. Could have been cleaner, but it's pretty clean. Our starters look pretty good. Herbert badly missed one pass. I think it was a swing pass out to the flat, but then he threw an absolute laser to KLS over on the left sidelines, which, I mean, the window on that pass was just tiny, and he threw a dart. I mean, it's beautiful. And of course, KLS is showing his skills as a receiver and pulled that thing in for a nice gain. I want to say it was about 27, 28 yards, something like that. So our starters looked pretty good. Not great, but they looked really good, and they're pretty efficient. And probably the most important thing I would say is they got some reps against an opposing team. So it was like getting live fire rounds before the regular season starts. So they got a little bit of that, a little taste of that, especially since they're not having the scrimmage with the Rams that they were going to have, to get a little bit of some live fire before they head into week one. So look pretty good. Not too many mistakes, a couple penalties here and there, but nothing too major. No real busted plays or anything like that. So all in all, again, they showed pretty well, especially, second, third stringers, where it can really start getting sloppy. And we really haven't seen that this preseason, where, late fourth quarter, the quality of play is really devolving. In this case, it looks like Harbaugh and the whole coaching staff has these guys coached up pretty well. And it bodes well for the roster, especially the bottom part. I mean, we know the top part of this roster. We know who those guys are, but it's kind of those last few pieces that they're trying to fill in there. And the guys who are ultimately going to get cut from the 90 down to 53, those guys are acquitting themselves really well. So I suspect the coaching staff is going to have some difficult decisions on 1, 2, 3, 4 guys that could be filling a couple of those last spots. And it'll probably come down, like it normally does, to special teams. But they look pretty doggone good. Okay. Another big picture item was, personally, you can call me a whiner if you want, but I believe there were a couple dirty shots in that game. The first one, especially starting out with QJ. That guy, that hit was late, and it was helmet to helmet. And I don't know why they didn't throw a flag on that play. Yes, the ball had been tipped. It had been bobbled, but that guy essentially headhunted and took QJ out. It was the safety Ingle, and not sure why he didn't get a flag, more or less get ejected. Also, there was a hit on KLS coming across the middle. Looked a little dirty to me. Looks like they were trying to hurt him. And he actually went out for a while, and I was a little concerned, but he ended up coming back in the game. It looked pretty good. And then last but not least, also Taylor. The hit on Taylor, they literally slammed him to the ground. And that's where I think he got a concussion, probably a mild one, hopefully a mild one, but it knocked him out of the game. And last I checked, he was a quarterback. So I thought the league was trying to protect these guys, and he literally got body slammed to the turf, not just tackled, but slammed. And typically that draws a flag when you slam a quarterback to the turf. And again, no call. It's very interesting how the refs were calling this game. So my 2 cents, take it for what it's worth. It doesn't amount to a hill of beans at this point, but I would say the Rams are playing a little dirty on defense, personally. Just note that for future reference next time we play these guys. Last kind of big ticket item was on defense. It felt to me like our defense, and it felt this way last season too, so I'm not going to indict these guys at this point, and it is preseason, but it felt like they were giving up too many yards, both to the run and to the pass. They weren't as stiff as I would have liked to have seen. However, we had that issue last season, but what made up for it was they kept teams out of the end zone. And this defense appears to be doing a pretty good job of that so far, kind of the bend, don't break mentality. And they've been very opportunistic with turnovers. So I'll take giving up the yards if you can stiffen up as you get near to scoring zone, keep them to field goals versus touchdowns, and be opportunistic when turnovers present themselves. So, but just an observation, it felt like we were giving up a little too much, especially when we had our starters out there. The Rams got a little too many yards against us. So is what it is. Some players who flashed in this game. First and foremost, it wasn't the typical guys. We had some new guys flash in this game, and it was cool. Luke Grimm, they call him the Grim Reaper. I love it. Last week, he almost broke a punt return for a touchdown, but he got tripped up. This week, they executed it perfectly. The ball was kicked to the right. They had a left return on. He was able to get it around, get some good blocks, and took it to the house. And the guy's clearly got some speed. And so I think he's acquitting himself very well to, if not maybe get an actual 53-man roster spot. At this point in time, I would say he's pretty safe bet that this guy's going to make the practice squad. And then we had a big man. This was awesome. I love when the big men get involved. And I wasn't even aware of this guy until this play. Trey Edwards, he's an undrafted free agent, nose tackle, got an interception and a run back. It was awesome. The most awesome part of it for me was as he was running down the sidelines, and the guy was moving, man. It looks like the guy had some ball skills, but as he's going down the sidelines, the Rams quarterback, Bennett, was trying to tackle him, and Trey just lowered his shoulder and plowed him. And so Bennett was probably regretting that move, but it was beautiful. He didn't, Trey didn't, pretend like it was anything but a quarterback and he was just going to mow him over, which was absolutely awesome. Some positions that I was watching in this game. We'll go over a few of those. First and foremost, I was watching the QB2 battle between Taylor Heineke and Trey Lance. Taylor played better in this game. He was moving the offense. Things looked pretty good. He was executing until he got knocked out of the game. I wouldn't say he was lighting the world on fire, but he was playing much better, much more efficient, and executing. And then he got knocked out of the game. And Trey Lance came in and pretty much picked up where he's left off. And I haven't been a Trey Lance fan. I'm just going to tell you, ever since he was drafted into the league, I haven't been a fan of his. I haven't been a hater of his. I've kind of been ambivalent to him. I thought he was drafted too high, didn't have the work coming out of a small school. But, I think he only started like 17 games in college or something. It wasn't like he had Easton Sticks 50-something games, or what's his name? Carson Wentz, who was there at North Dakota State before Stick. So it was one of those things. It's kind of like, I think they took a crapshoot on him, and they gave up a lot, by the way, to move up to the third spot and pick him in the 2022 draft, something like that. But man, he's looked really good this preseason. This offense is working for him. Seems like he's got a really good understanding of it. He's executing really well. His passes look good, both the bullets that he needs to throw and the touch passes. And he's using his legs, not overly using them, but using them when he needs to and using them effectively. And so this QB2 battle is really interesting. I'm a fan of Taylor's, Heineke. And I was a big proponent of getting Taylor last offseason when it was obvious that Easton Stick was not the answer as our QB2. And I was just head over heels overjoyed when Joe Ortiz went out and made the trade and got, well, I don't think he had to trade for him. I have to go back and double check. But we got Taylor Heineke and brought him over when it was obvious, he was going to be the odd man out. I believe it was in Atlanta last offseason. So big fan of Taylor's. He's got a good body of work as a starter. Actually took the Redskins to the playoffs. And so the fact that Trey appears to be winning this battle, at this point, I think if you had to choose a QB2, if coach had to choose a QB2 at this point in time, I don't know how he wouldn't choose Trey Lance. And that's coming from somebody who's more of a Taylor Heineke fan than Trey Lance fan. But more than that, I'm a Chargers fan, and I'm a fan of the Chargers winning. Okay. And so at the end of the day, this comes down to what gives the Chargers the best chance to win. And if Herbert goes down for a play, a series, a half, an entire game, if you're looking at the body of work at this point in time, I don't know how you don't choose Trey Lance over Taylor. Now, Trey's not getting paid, but Taylor's getting paid this season. And I think we've only got both of those guys under contract on a 1 year. So just this year, I believe they'll both be free agents next year. I could be wrong on that. They might have re-signed Taylor to a 2 year. I'd have to double check. But I think they're both on 1 years. That's kind of been Ortiz's operating procedure at this point. Is most contracts he's writing are just 1 years. And so we're going to have to re-up whoever it is next season, unless we do it during the season, if we really like our QB2 and we want to keep him around. And so right now, like I said, if you had to call it today, which we don't, but if you had to, I would say it's Trey's job. And Taylor's going to be the emergency quarterback. Now, what's going to be really interesting is this Niners game. Is Taylor going to be able to play in it? Is he going to pass concussion protocol if indeed that's the limiting injury? And is he going to be able to play in this game? Because if he can't, and Trey plays as well as he's been playing, well, then I'd have to say it's a slam dunk that it's Trey's job. If Taylor can play, then at least he has one more opportunity to make a case that he should be QB2. So keep your eyes on that. Our running backs. We saw Marion for a couple plays. Can't wait to see this guy play a full game and where they can feed this guy the ball. Really looking forward to seeing what he's capable of. We've just gotten little flashes at this point here and there, but everybody on the team, especially Harbaugh lights up when you start talking about Marion. So it's going to be really interesting come week one to get a full dose of hopefully 20 plus carries for the young guy. But who's going to fill the role behind him? Right now, if I had to choose who's made the best case for themselves, Kamani Valdal, he's been running really, really hard. Haskins, I think he's a shoo-in. He's an ex-Harbaugh Michigan guy, and I think Harbaugh trusts him a lot. And then a guy who kind of came on last week during the Saints is Sanders, Rocket Sanders. He's big and fast, and I think he kind of fits the mold of what G-Row and Harbaugh are looking for, which is to pound the rock, not finesse it, pound it. And so all three of these guys are making a good case to make the roster. So we'll want to keep an eye on that battle as well. And then our wide receiver room, continue to keep an eye on these guys. This Rams game, both of our drafted rookie wide receivers looked great. Trey Harris finally got, I think it was 5, 6, 7 catches. Looked really good. KLS, I believe, was 2 balls that he caught, but it's 2 balls for like 66 yards. He's looking really, really good. He's looking like a nice threat Both these guys acquitted themselves well in this game, and Giro continues to praise these guys as they come in every day and just work really hard, learning the offense, working on their skills to contribute to the team. Continue to watch our rookie wide receivers. I'd also like to see what Campbell continues to do. I mean, this guy's 6'4", 220. He's a big kid. And I think he's got practice squad written all over him. But at this point, and we'll talk more about it as we head into the regular season roster cutdowns, is the wide receiver room again. Who's in, who's out? We'll need to keep an eye on that. Special teams is going to play a role in that. And KLS played a little special teams. At least he got a couple reps in the Rams game as a gunner. And apparently he acquitted himself really good, according to Ryan Ficken and Coach Harbaugh on those reps. So keep an eye on that as well. And last but not least is going to continue to keep an eye on the interior D-line. The rotation we have in there looks really, really deep. And the guys we brought in as free agents, the guys we've still had there, the Eboigbe and Tito Abonia, and the guy we drafted, Jamari Caldwell, and then the guys we brought in Hand and forgive me, the other guy's name. They're all, and then of course, how can I forget T.R. Tart? We've got a really deep rotation there. So want to continue to keep an eye on that. But at this point, I think I feel pretty good about our interior D-line. And it's going to be a very, very deep rotation this season versus having two or three guys as kind of the main guys. And then those guys getting a blow from the backups. In this case, it looks like Jesse Minter is going to be able to just kind of rotate those guys through and keep them all fresh, which is really, really cool. And God forbid somebody go down. They've got a lot of depth there. But this third round pick of ours, Jamari Caldwell, he continues to just make his presence known. And he's definitely, at this point in time, he's earned what I would call starting, even though he may not be in there on the first play of the game, to be in on the starting rotation. So he is going to get regular season live reps. He will be part of that rotation. I guarantee you. He's a disruptor. He needs to be double teamed. He's super strong. He can push the middle of the pocket. All the things you're looking for in a guy who's playing zero or the three gap. And so keep an eye on this guy. I think as he continues to learn the system this season and seasons going forward, this guy could end up being pretty dominant interior lineman as he continues to grow and mature. So guy to keep an eye on, I think. '49'ers game. It's kind of coming up this Saturday. It's in San Francisco at Levi's Stadium. Technically, that's not San Francisco. I think that's down in Palo Alto. And let's see. This is the last preseason game of the preseason. Saturday, 5:30 Eastern time. What are you be looking for in this game? First and foremost, we don't want any injuries. Now, I highly doubt we're going to play any starters. If we do play some starters, it's not going to be our significant starters. It's not going to be the Justin Herberts and the Khalil Macks and probably the Omarion Hamptons. I would be surprised if Joe Alt or Mekhi Becton, if any of those guys play. But we'll definitely keep an eye on who starts the game and who doesn't. But I highly doubt we're going to have any of our significant starters. And then we just want to get out of the game with two main focuses: no injuries and being able to evaluate those guys who potentially could earn a roster spot down at the bottom of the 53-man, and who then would fill the 16 or 17 spots on the practice squad. So big picture, that's what we're going to be looking for there. Oh, and then still, okay, I suspect Trey's going to start the game, or Taylor, one of the two. And do they continue to run the offense efficiently? How efficient is the team? And so that's the third kind of big ticket item is, do they continue to operate good, even though they're running second, third string guys, not making pre-snap penalties, blown coverages, just all of those mental errors? Are they continuing to be an efficient team? That bodes well for the regular season if they continue that. And I have no reason to believe that they won't, considering they really have been efficient for these first three preseason games. It looks like they're, number one, quality players, but number two, taking quality coaching, which is awesome. This roster, compared to last season, obviously the top of the roster is the top of the roster, but the level of the bottom of the roster compared to last season, I think has definitely risen to where even the lower end of the roster are better players than we had last season. Hats off to Joe Ortiz and the coaching staff. Position battles that we're going to continue to watch. The QB2 is huge. And then the wide receivers, obviously, well, not obviously, but Ladd's probably not going to play in that game. I would be shocked if Keenan plays in that game. Keenan doesn't need any more reps. He and Herbert can do everything they need to do in practice. And I think Keenan's still trying to get kind of in game shape. So I doubt he'll play. So we're going to be looking at the KLSs, the Trey Harrises, the Campbells, the Rices, maybe the Luke Grimm. He might get some wide receiver reps. Who am I missing? The Darius Davis. I don't know if we'll get Darius Davis reps. Again, he's a starter returner on special teams. So they may not choose to expose him to potential injury. So it'll be interesting to see who plays as receiver and how they perform. Also, the running back room, who's going to fill that? If you want to call Najee Harris running back 1A and O'Marion running back 1B, whether Harris is active for week 1 or not, okay, who's filling RB2, 3, and 4? So we'll want to continue to keep an eye on that. And I suspect the guys vying for those positions, they are going to play and give the coaches every opportunity to see game reps and make a quality decision. Who's going to make the active roster in that running back room and who may get bumped, cut, or moved to the practice squad. Also, at this point, I don't know if there's much of a battle there, but I'm still interested in continuing to watch the interior defensive line. Also want to see the kind of the backup edges. Once you get past the Khalils and the Bud Duprees and our boy Thule, who's going to be kind of that fourth and fifth? Is it Caleb Murphy? Is it our guy Morris Brash? Who's gonna make the squad? Is it our fourth round pick Kyle Kennard? He's been kind of coming on of late, according to Jesse Mentor. So who's going to be that fourth and fifth edge guy as well? So we'll want to keep an eye on that. And then the O-line, there's still some intrigue there ever since, we had Slater go down. As far as, it still sounds like the coaches are, Pipkins is going to be right tackle. I haven't heard them talking about Salyer starting. And I don't know if he's getting a fair shot or if he's just not outplaying Trey in practice, because they only got a few snaps last week in the game. And so I'm still going to continue to keep an eye on that because I believe Salyer's the better player. And is he getting a fair shot? Or are we going to go into the regular season with Pipkin and run the risk of getting Herbert slaughtered potentially? Or does he just, get sacked a few times and then they put Salyer in his place or shuffle the line around some more? And that might be part of the reason they're going with Pip is because they don't have to shuffle the line quite as much. Because quite frankly, if they go with Salyer, odds are pretty high he's going to be left tackle because I don't think he's ever played right. But he's played left, and he's played left effectively, by the way. And then they'll bring Alt back over to the right tackle. And I think because Alt is such a stud, they want him at left tackle if Slater's not on the field. And so that might also be affecting their overall decision why they're going with Pip versus Salyer and keeping Salyer as a backup to, swing tackle, swing guard. Continue to keep an eye on that. And then the kind of the second string guys, because these guys get hurt. It's a long season. Who's going to be stepping up when somebody goes down? So continue to kind of keep an eye on the second and third string guys as well. Continue to keep an eye on that. And then just be interested. This is the last preseason game. For some of these players, this may be their last opportunity to make a case for themselves, to make either the Chargers roster or practice squad or one of the other 31 teams roster or practice squad. And so real interested to see how some of these young guys, some of these undrafted free agents, how they perform in this game and who flashes. Are we going to see more flash out of Nico Reed or Eric Rogers or Caleb Murphy or Luke Grimm or Terra? Or, is there going to be somebody else that flashes in this game? Who's going to step up and make a case for themselves that they deserve to make the roster? This is their last opportunity. So that's going to be very interesting to watch in this game. So there you have it. That's kind of it for this week as far as last week's game, what we saw and what we're expecting to be watching for in this upcoming final preseason game. Item of note, I mentioned this last pod. I'll throw it out here again. I love this. This is a podcast by a diehard Chargers fan for the rest of you guys as diehard Chargers fans. And I think it really adds to the podcast to have other fans on. And so if somebody is interested in occasionally also being on the podcast, please leave a note below, message me, and say, hey, I'd be interested. And I'll follow back up with you, and we'll chat a little bit and see if it's a good fit to be on ChargersCast. But would love to have a few more fans participate with ChargersCast. So don't be bashful. Leave a message below if you would be interested in being on ChargersCast with me during the season. So one item of note. Also, we have some cool Chargers fan, ChargersCast merch out on our store. And there's a link down below for that. You can get, cool hat like this, which is navy with gold embroidery that is just like perfect Chargers / kind of, the old San Diego Navy military. Make the Chargers great again cap. And some other very cool merch out there as far as coffee mugs and t-shirts and things like that. So hit that link below if you are interested in checking out some of our ChargersCast / Bolt fan merch. And other than that, we'll wrap this thing up. That's it for another episode of ChargersCast. The next episode, we will be covering the San Francisco game. We'll be talking about roster cut downs is next Tuesday, August 26th. And so we'll probably be doing the next pod after roster cut downs. So we'll talk about that as far as what we cut the roster down to. We'll be talking about the wide receiver room. We'll be talking about the running backs. We'll be talking about all the different position groups and who made the active roster, even though we know that could get tweaked between now and week one, and quite frankly, every week, because that's how Ortiz cooks. But we'll go ahead and talk about the roster cut downs. Don't be surprised. I won't be surprised as other teams cut down their rosters. I've been talking about this for a couple of weeks ever since Slater went down. But I suspect that I wouldn't be shocked, put it this way. I wouldn't be shocked either way. If Ortiz stands pat with the guys he's got in the O-line room, but I wouldn't be shocked at all as roster cut downs occur that Ortiz finds somebody to add to the offensive line room, whether that is a veteran who might actually be able to step in and be a starter instead of Pipkins or Salyer, or at least somebody who can step in and raise the level of kind of that second string so that when somebody does go down, we've got a higher caliber rotational guy versus what's currently on the roster. Because kind of after Salyer and Pipkins, I think there's a drop off there. So don't be surprised, but we'll continue to report to you. But offensive line is one of those places where I suspect Ortiz may add to the roster as other teams are cutting down their rosters, and they have to make difficult decisions at every roster spot. But for us in particular, O-line is one of those places we probably need to add to. So we'll also talk about our roster cut downs and all that good stuff, and kind of what we're anticipating heading into week one on Friday, September 5th in Sao Paulo, Brazil, against the arch rival Kansas City Chiefs, who unfortunately for us, that's considered a home game, not for the Chiefs. So we're losing a home game because of this, but at least we're going to get it out of the way in week one, early in week one. We're the second game of the new season. The season kicks off on Thursday, September 4th, and then we play Friday, September 5th. So we're literally the second game of the season, and I believe we're the only game. I don't think that's a doubleheader. I think we're the only game. So a lot to be excited about this season. Second season under Harbaugh and G. Rowe and Jesse Minter, and a lot to be optimistic for, even though we lost our stud left tackle in preseason. So that is it for this episode of ChargersCast. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Really do. This is why I do it. Not to talk to myself, but to hang out with you guys. And I'd love to get another fan or two in here from week to week, hanging out with me as well. So hit me up below. If you haven't already done it, if you don't follow us on our YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe, like, hit the little bell so you get notifications when we post new episodes. And that's it for this episode of ChargersCast. You know, there's a tradition here. Who's got it better than us? Nobody. Bolt up. Hi, I'm Kirk Brewer, the creator and host of ChargersCast. I just wanted to say thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of ChargersCast. We really appreciate you engaging with the podcast. When I created ChargersCast, it was intended to be a podcast about everything Los Angeles Chargers from a fan perspective. It's by fans and for fans. So it's for you, and we really appreciate you being here. If you haven't done so already, please go down below, leave a comment, give us some feedback. We really love to hear from you. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe and click the little bell so that you get notifications when new content drops. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to ChargersCast. And who's got it better than us?
Nobody.